Today, I would like to talk to you just a little bit real quickly about how versioning in WordPress works. So versioning is how you get a different version number in software or hardware. And you're probably used to it. You might think something like you had the PlayStation, you had a PlayStation 2, then 3, then 4, and now we're up to 5. So that's just kind of how versioning you would think normally works. You go from one number to the next. Now, other things are going to be different. And if you still stay with the game console idea, you have the Xbox, and you have the Xbox 360, and then you have the Xbox One, which is after the Xbox 360, I think. How do you know? So versions don't have to follow a set pattern. If you're used to desktop software, you've probably seen this. A good example of this would be in the Microsoft Windows naming convention. So I've been using Windows for several years longer than I'd like to admit in some cases. And you find that you have Windows 3, which was, I think, the first version I used. Then you had 3.1, then you had 3.11, and then you went to Windows 95, then Windows 98, and Windows Millennium, which was, they called Windows ME. And then they had some other versions. And now they've gone to 7, 8, skipped over 9, and now they're at 10. And you might be going, well, how do they pick these numbers? Well, in reality, there is no rule for how to pick numbers. Sometimes it's based upon what year something came out. So at the year 2000, a lot of people came out with something 2000 version. In some cases, it's just, when we do little updates, we'll do a point number. So it'll go from 3 to 3.1, where a big update, a major change, then we'll go from 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Well, WordPress does it a little bit differently. Every big update is actually a point release. So right now, WordPress 5.6 just came out. Before that was 5.5, and before that was 5.4. And at each one of those point releases, there was a pretty big update. These happen usually once to twice a year on average. Now, sometimes it's a little bit more often, a little bit less often, depending upon things like how difficult is it to get something to work, or do they have unexpected bugs they have to fix in it? How many, beta tests did it take to, work out everything? Those types of things. So you might be still asking yourself, okay, but what does this have to do? Well, I want to let you know, because that is a little bit different, that doing a point release is a major update. So when we went from 4.9 to 5, it really wasn't any different from going from 4.8 to 4.9. It was more features, more things. It was just the next number. WordPress always goes to 0.9, and then they go to the next whole number. Now, every once in a while, you will see something like, oh, here's 5.5.2. You might say, well, what's that 0.2 for? Well, every time that there's a series of little updates, and these could be bug fixes, they could be a security update, they do a sub-point release. And so we'll at some point probably get a 5.6.1. And sometimes those point releases come pretty quickly. Sometimes they take a while. It just kind of depends upon how big the bug was, or how bad the security patch was that needed to be fixed and released. And so it's constantly being updated, fixing those things, and that's the reason why. And so when you say, oh, this is a 5.6 and 5.7 is coming out, like, should I worry about it? It's probably it's not a minor release. It's probably a pretty significant one. You're going to get a lot of new features, and you might want to look at doing the update. So just want to kind of give you a heads up on the way versioning works and what you can expect from it.